Okay, let's do the blah blah. Blah blah meaning crafting metaphors for inner transformation. Episode number 2. Today I'm going to dig deeper into one of the steps of the process. So if you don't know what the hell a process, like what am I talking about, just go back to the first episode, then you'll know all the things. There are 5 easy steps that are kind of a metaphor to a handmade process that can be taken into basically everything we do in life. And today I'll focus on the first one, which is preparing. Oh, well, what is it, right? Preparing. We all know how to prepare, right? So I use the idea or the metaphor of creating a handmade scarf, like knitted scarf that we really want to have, like in a fancy color. So in order to do that, we first need to prepare, like gather materials, maybe like find this crocheting course online, or maybe find somebody who knows how to crochet and can really like sit with us and tell us what to do, like at least what to start with. And you see, with all that, when you pause and stop and take a look at that, that's a beautiful metaphor to all the things we do in our life and how this moment of preparing ourselves for the big leap, for the new skill, for something that we want to do, or the dream that we want to, fulfill in our life, or like a big plan, it always starts with preparing. So let's, dissect the preparation for the handmade scarf. We gather materials. So we collect some wool, probably in the best color we want for our scarf, like the really precise color we want. So let's take it as a metaphor, for example, to starting your own business. Doesn't it work the same way? Like that we gather materials, we buy like, I don't know, dozens of online courses that tells us like where to start, like how to do the accounting, like what is the price that we need to pay in order to like have this entry point to our business. Like if you want to do like I don't know, online coaching, what tools do we need? Is it the Zoom thing, or can we do it on YouTube, or maybe some other tools? Like we are preparing materials, and in a way, we are preparing those things that we're going to use in order to work with them in order to get to our goal. So, for example, when we think of our business, we think of the tools, the materials that we actually need in order to use them in order to get to the point where the business works so it earns money, for example, or fulfills our mission, our goal in life. And sometimes, just like with the scarf, it's not only about materials because it's kind of like easy. We can do it on our own, like nobody sees, and we can do that, right? We can buy those, like those in or those, online courses, or like have all those books and read them and be the smartest. Like in our head, the business is perfect, right? But there is this thing that nobody sees that. Just like with the scarf, to me, a second level of preparing is telling somebody about it and maybe seeking help. Because in a way, when we, for example, buy an online course about crocheting, and it's not just like some kind of automated course, but there's this person on the other side, just like, in Plotki, we do it like live workshops. So there's this tutor on the other side. We have to, for one, like admit that we don't know how to crochet a scarf or how to knit a scarf. And then we need to admit that we need that other person in order to, shortcut the way to, to do that scarf. But there is this other person that already knows what we're dreaming at, what's our goal, what we're pursuing. And that's really something that we need to do we need to go out of this comfort zone, like, reading the books and nobody knows. Like now somebody knows. Now somebody can ask us a question, like in some time, like, did you finish? Like, how was it? Was it okay? Are you satisfied? And just like with the scarf, the same with the business. Like somebody can ask us, like, how it's going? Is it earning enough? Are you satisfied with the income? How's your break-even point, right? And that's the thing that I guess you already feel it. Like that's becoming a little bit more scary. But there is also this another level to the scariness when it comes to preparing. Just like with the scarf, we can also go to a live event, like maybe live workshops. And in case of our workshops, it's always like 4 people and the tutor, right? So it's not a crowd, you cannot hide. So in a way, you're there. You admitted that you don't know how to knit a scarf. You admitted that you really want to do it. You actually paid for the workshop, probably. And then there is this expectation that at the end of the workshop, you do have that scarf. So it's the same with the business, right? See the allegory of the handmade world? Like when you go into some kind of mentoring or group coaching program, you cannot hide, especially if that's like a mastermind small group. You cannot hide. You have that tutor asking you questions like, did you complete that? The plan is 6 weeks or 12 weeks or 18 weeks, whatever, like 1 year. But the time span when it comes to the end, that's the moment where you're going to be asked the question, did you succeed? Did you make it? Did you reach your goal? Right? And that feels even more scary. Like we're still at this first point where we're just preparing, but this admitting that we do want to be at a certain point in time, I don't know, in life, like in the level of our completion rate, like with the scarf, for example, that's a really scary thing to do. But then if we don't do it, how can we even start? If we didn't define a goal, like scarf or, a successful business, like, I don't know, earning 100K a year, like, how can we even get there? Like, how can we even start pursuing that goal if we didn't have the guts to name it, to make it precise? So we can get at that point at the very end and tell ourselves, I'm there. I did reach that goal. So you see, I'm amazed how people make those goals blurry, like that you cannot define them. Like, I want to have a successful business. What the hell that even mean? Like, do you want 500K or you want a business that you're allowed to be with your kids every afternoon and weekend and you're still able to pay your rent, right? What's your definition of success? And I discovered that we sometimes do not want to define our goals because we are so afraid that we don't make it, that we don't even try at the very beginning, and we fail at the very first step. And you know that I'm not talking about this handmade scarf now, right? That's the perfect allegory, because if we don't name, how long would that scarf be? What color would that be? What would be the width of that scarf? Like, what would be the exact loops that we will use, or like the pattern that we will use? It's impossible to knit that, right? Or crochet that. If you don't know what are you pursuing, it's impossible to do that thing. And it's so easy in handmade, right? It's so obvious. I'm not like discovering the moon here. But you see, in life, we do that. We make those blurry, I don't know what goals, like, or we just don't even name that, right? And then we expect that they will come true. Isn't that stupid of us? Let's face it. And let's be brave enough to prepare, to go through that first part of the process, this five-step process that I've mentioned in a previous episode. Let's dare to prepare for success. Because how can we reach that goal if we don't actually name it? Don't put a time frame to it. Don't put the exact number to it. The touch, the feel, the very details, minutest details to it. Let's dare do it. Okay? And there is also one more thing when it comes to preparation. Preparation could be the place where we can fall into two traps. Because on the one hand, we can do what I just mentioned, like we do not tell ourselves exactly what are we pursuing. So we don't name the goal and don't parameterize it like really, really precisely. So we didn't do the work at the beginning. We didn't prepare for the success. But then there's also this risk on the other side that we did parameterize the goal, and we did set the goal in such an amount of details that it scared the shit out of us, right? Do you also have that, like that you're in your life or in your business at one point and you're like, I don't know, making 3K a month and everything's okay, but you just like, that would be so cool to have 10K a month or maybe 20. That would be like the wildest dream. But then you look at those gurus, they're making like 100K months or I don't know, 1 million a month. So you make your goal really precise. So you don't make the first mistake, like you make it really precise. But your goal is like, I want to have those 100K months. So you have it like really precise. And I, want to have the time for my family. And I want to have like 5 employees doing the whole job for me. And. And the goal is parameterized like perfectly. But the case is that it's so unreal that we don't even feel that it's ever going to happen. It's so distant from the place where we are that we stop believing that we can make it. So we don't even dare to go to the next step, which you already know from previous episode, which is just starting to pursue that goal. Because our goal is so big and so hairy and scary that we don't believe we can make it. So those are those 2 traps that we can fall into. And again, handmade process comes in handy in here. Why? Just like I told you, like in last episode, when you go through all those processes that lead you to creating, for example, a handmade scarf, you didn't start with, super duper fancy sweater with 2 hoodies, like one hoodie. Let's face it, like we don't need 2 of them. Like you did start with a scarf, right? But once you created the scarf, that enabled you, empowered you to go through that process again, and maybe again and again and again, and then go through that process so many times that you did reach this level where you're confident enough that you can do the sweater. You can do the fucking hoodie as well, right? You know what I mean? That you don't have to fall into this trap of making your goals so huge and scary, but you can set some goals in between. So you have this big vision, this really hairy and scary goal at the end, but then you make some little goals that feel in your body that it's possible to get there. So maybe instead of making that goal 100K and not even starting to pursue that, how about making that 15K? Maybe 6K if you're at 3? Would that feel more doable? Would that make you even start pursuing that little 3K upgrade? I bet it would. I hope you liked this idea of preparing. And you did grasp this message I wanted to convey for you. It's so important that we prepare for our success, that we prepare for the handmade process, like we prepare for making a scarf. And I bet you're going to use those allegories in order to use them for preparation for your goals, for your success, for making your dreams come true. So don't make those errors. I've made them. And only while, knitting this handmade scarf, I realized that in real life, in my business as well, in my family life, in my relationship, I've made those mistakes. I either did fall into the trap of making this goal so vague and so unparameterized that I didn't even know where I should start because I didn't really know where I'm headed. Or I made that goal such a distant and unrealistic thing that I didn't even start as well. But when I understood that it's just like with this handmade scarf, on the one hand, it needs to be parameterized, how long, how width, how, what loops, what pattern, everything. So my goal, like my life goal, my business goal needs to be really exact. And on the other hand, it cannot be too distant. I really genuinely need to feel that it's possible for me. Then I'm prepared. And then I can go to the second step. And this one I'm going to talk about in the next episode. Hopefully see you in the next one. And if you haven't seen the one about the whole process, go back to episode 1. And if you need to know what the hell I'm doing here, like go into episode 0 when I explain what is that challenge all about. See you in the next episode.